Okay. Yep. Okay. Yes. Let's go. A minor glitch there, but we're good to go. Yep. Okay. It's doing that. Okay. There we go. All right. We are standing by. Standing by, folks. Good afternoon. Some big news on this Thursday. And we're going to talk about the legal elements of it coming up in just a moment. And again, remember, you can listen AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Good. And there's our guest waiting in the wings. And there we go. Folks, at 106, good afternoon. This is the real news. It is the John DePetro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, you can listen online at the website, which is depetro.com. Now, right now, as we speak, we are live on our Facebook page. We are live on our YouTube page, and we are live on X. Now, if you check out depetro.com, check out the website, folks, where you can also listen live, by the way. But as you check out the website, you're going to see the video. Now, we were really the only ones that were there last night. That could have been a very dangerous situation, very catastrophic situation, where we were in Washington Park, Road Patrol. Now, that area is known, I know for a fact, I mean, there are some gang-affiliated individuals that live in that area. They had a big blowout there just a couple of years ago, but you had a vehicle that was seemingly fleeing, two suspects. Again, if you were watching last night, this sounds familiar, but if you were watching it, you had three people in a vehicle, and as they were driving away, two individuals seemingly fired at them. The car was shot up. The car crashed right at the intersection, right in Washington Park, California and Michigan, which is right off Narragansett Boulevard. And the car was a wreck. One individual had to be transported by rescue to the hospital. You saw the other two suspects were detained. Providence police were on scene. They were looking because witnesses claimed that they thought that they were exchanging gunfire between those in the vehicle and then the two suspects. The two suspects fled on foot. But what this could have been is when they're firing the weapon, they, very easily could have hit the driver, who then really could have, or all three of them could have lost their life. So my point in mentioning that, you can see the video. We were live last night on the website. You can see it on the website, depetro.com, brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Folks, remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, and they're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. Now, what has happened today, and this has been bubbling over a little bit, but today, this is pretty extraordinary. I don't recall the last time that this happened, actually. I've been on the phone with members of law enforcement during the course of the morning, and the fact that the Rhode Island State Police terminated two troopers, from what we understand, they were in the class of 2024, so they're relatively new. I think that gives state police some leeway here, but you had a situation, and for those of you that watch Road Patrol, you'll remember we were out one night. Now, this happened very late at night, and it's an odd story. 11:30. I don't know. I fully don't understand if there was maybe an argument in a vehicle on 95, but for whatever reason, one individual leaving the vehicle attempted to cross the highway. It was right by Crossroads. It happened again, I'm going to say like 11:30 at night. And the individual, as you can imagine, at night, at 11:30 at night, let alone then there's darkness, but the individual was struck, was fatally killed. I don't believe there were any type of charges on the driver. No reason to believe impaired, but now, so that happened in October. Now we've learned that apparently two members of the Rhode Island State Police were viewing some of the DOT camera footage of it. Now, remember, there's DOT cameras all over our roadways. And as they were viewing it, apparently they filmed it and were seemingly, allegedly, but laughing in the background. And then they sent it to someone on Snapchat. Now, Snapchat, I recognize a lot of people are not on it. The thing about Snapchat is it's what the user thinks is that it's not permanent, because with Snapchat you can send it and then it's like it evaporates within, I think sometimes it can be 12 hours, sometimes it can be 24 hours, but then it's gone. So a lot of the people that use it, I find, get a false sense of security because they think it's gone. However, there's many people, they see something on Snapchat and then they record it on their phone and then that gets sent around. So you have this video being sent around, and it was, the author of it was a member of the Rhode Island State Police, and you can hear two of them talking about it. And the individual that was struck, his family saw it apparently right before the funeral. They have taken action, they've gone public. And now, as a result of that, the state police have taken action and terminated two members of the Rhode Island State Police. And I can't stress enough the unusual nature of that. Now, folks, joining us right now to discuss it and give some insight is a member of Marin, Barrett, and Murphy, criminal defense attorneys, 50 years combined Rhode Island criminal defense experience. Your fight becomes theirs. Full weight of the firm, every case. You can call them at 401-228-8271. I did share their Facebook page. It's Marin, Barrett, and Murphy Law Firm. And joining us from there is, and it's her first time appearing on the program, is Stephanie Murphy. Good afternoon, Stephanie.
Hi, John. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Very well. Take us through. I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on this, particularly this state police case.
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to the victim and the family and everything that they were going through, to not only have to live through losing a loved one, but then have, the loved one's death posted on social media. My heart goes out to them. But in regards to what happened on that night, although, the two state police troopers were just fired today, I think it's been kind of a long-term investigation. But the Rhode Island State Police and any police officers, they definitely have a responsibility to maintain the confidentiality of any photos or videos or anything that's part of an investigation in any car accident, in any case that they're involved in. And that didn't happen in this case. Rhode Island has general laws that talk about this, such as Rhode Island General Law 1167.1-13. And additionally, Rhode Island also has other laws about internet service providers and what can be disclosed on the internet about certain information. So all those laws were basically violated when, anybody posted any confidential information in regards to this accident onto the internet. There's obviously a breach of the police officer's duty to keep those videos and information related to the death private. And as the firing of the two state police troopers, it's apparent that they did not follow that mandate. So the entire case is tragic, and the fact that the family had to relive everything that happened to their loved ones on the internet and still having to deal with that, that's just beyond words at this point.
Stephanie, would you agree with me? It's extraordinary, unusual. I mean, we've seen some cases where the state police and even, Providence Police, whoever it may be, they try to terminate someone. But I can't recall the last time. I mean, there was some high profile examples where maybe something happened with a prisoner in a cell block, but the extraordinary, unusual nature of two troopers fired for any behavior, but especially this behavior.
Yeah, I think it speaks to, the mandates that weren't followed by these two troopers. And I give a lot of credit to the state police for investigating this and reaching the conclusion that they did. I'm sure they did a thorough job in investigating everyone's part in it. And this is what they feel like is the appropriate sanction for what was done. So I do think it's very unusual that this is what's happening and they're not, suspended or anything like that, and that they're, actually let go.
What about the family? The state's essentially acknowledging that the troopers were in the wrong. They just terminated them. I can't recall the last time, and I've been on the phone with law enforcement all morning. No one can remember when two police, let alone the 2025 nature of that. It's social media tied in. But what about the family? Could the state maybe then be on the hook to essentially try to do something to reconcile the differences and the feeling that the family has?
I mean, absolutely. That's kind of what the civil side is for. So the state police did their investigation. They reached their conclusion. That's independent of anything that on the civil side of it. But John, I don't know if you're aware of, there was a California case from 2004, and it's kind of a similar set of facts where the victim in this case was 18 and she was speeding in her father's car, and she crashed into a toll booth at the time, and she was killed instantly. She was killed on scene. But the scene was so gruesome that even the family didn't even want to see the body or watch the video or anything like that. But officers on scene took pictures of this deceased girl, and it got leaked to social media. And all of a sudden, this victim who is deceased became, a social meme that was being passed around the internet. And in California, it did go on a civil case, and courts determined that the officers are not protected by the First Amendment right, and that this kind of information is not all right to disseminate to the public. And they actually reached a $2 million settlement for breach of privacy and pain and suffering in California. So that was a case that I was able to, that actually is talked about in law school in some cases. And I know it is being studied right now in law school. But that's a similar set of facts, a little bit older in time, but those are pictures that were disseminated. So that's kind of similar to kind of something that could happen in civil court.
Folks, again, we're speaking with Stephanie Murphy. She's an attorney, Marin, Barrett, and Murphy. Now, also, Stephanie, just the other night, you had a group of individuals, citizens at the Rhode Island State House, and number one, they wanted to protest the governor's speech. And then you also had independent media and traditional media that wanted to go in and film and kind of cover the speech. Number one, the individuals that went up there were escorted out of the State House area. And then number two, the governor's people say, it was a miscommunication that people were not allowed in. What's your take on those two examples?
Well, if you think that if there's any place, in the state where people have their First Amendment rights to express themselves, it would be at the State House. So I think it's a very, very fine line. I understand how these rights need to be protected, and everyone has that right. But at the same time, there's also the obligation for business to go on as normal, not to interrupt the course of business. But while protesters have the right to demonstrate inside the Rhode Island State House, I do believe that under the law, what they do and their activities can be regulated. And I know there's been some cases in Rhode Island in similar situations. But you would think if there's anywhere where protesters or anyone who wanted to voice their opinion, that they should be heard at the State House. So I do think the State House is a lot different of a place than, let's say, another example in town or something like that. So I think it's a very, very fine line. It's an important line to, allow people the First Amendment right, which is such an incredible right that everyone has.
Folks, again, we're speaking with Stephanie Murphy, and now this is something I've dubbed STEV selection. Stephanie Murphy, is there a story that you saw in the news recently that kind of jumped out at you that you feel legally people should be aware of?
Well, I do a lot of criminal law. And so I think that dual trial is going on in Kent County right now is absolutely a fascinating case. I know all the attorneys involved. And I was able to watch part of the closing arguments today. But I do think that's a really fascinating case for a variety of reasons. Most importantly, because there are two different defendants being tried with two different juries at the same time. So I've been fascinated by that. In all honesty, it's been for the last 2 weeks, and I've been keeping an eye on that. So I find that very interesting.
That's the Carbuncle Pond situation, two different individuals. Why is that? We've seen, I mean, I go back to Operation Plunderdome. You had all the defendants, but they were all on trial at the same time, and then they just had the one jury. Why the unusual nature of this, of the two juries?
Well, in terms of this, I think that, if the attorneys wanted to file a motion to sever and do two different trials, I'm not sure if they did in this case, but I do feel like these defendants, who are kind of blaming each other, in all honesty, do have a right to separate trials. So typically that would be done with two separate trials and two separate juries. But in order, because most of the witnesses, I think there was maybe 27 or 28 witnesses and over 100 exhibits, they were done at the same time. And what the judge did is, when one witness was only prevalent to one of the defendants, the other jurors would step out.
Folks, again, it's Stephanie Murphy. You can call Stephanie 401-228-8271 if you'd like to speak to her regarding some kind of a legal dilemma or situation that you're in. Stephanie, great job. Great to talk to you, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, folks, there it is. Stephanie Murphy, Marin, Barrett, and Murphy. Call them 401-228-8271. And again, you can find them on Facebook. Well, right now it is 1:21. And I want to once again emphasize the nature. It is so unusual of the state police terminating these two troopers. Now, you have situations when someone's been on the force for a while. You have that Hanley situation in Providence. They've been trying to fire that guy for a long time, and because of the police officer's Bill of Rights, you can't. There's a couple other cases involving police. There's not that many, but the extraordinary nature of the Rhode Island State Police, I'm going to tell you that the firing of these two troopers, that has caught a lot of people off guard, because a number of members of law enforcement, the family was raising the issue. I want to be also clear that at first take on it, the police, by the way, this is really important. The police, they had nothing to do with this individual. This is after the fact. And the reason I mention that is some people that were contacting me, and I understand, folks, misinformation starts to take hold. And there were some people that thought, oh, the police chased him onto the highway. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Again, it's unclear why the individual was trying to cross there. I think at the time it was that maybe the individual was going to go to Crossroads. I don't exactly remember what was going on in the vehicle. He pulled over, tried to run across the highway, and then was struck. But the two troopers, this also, I think the class was 29 new members of the Rhode Island State Police. And they're definitely, the way I understand it, if you're going to take action, now would be the time, as they are the new troopers. So that's how that would kind of come down like that. If the window of opportunity if they want to get rid of them, would be, that's how it would go. Now, I also just want to touch on, folks, and right now at let's see, 1:23, I want to touch on, and this, I hope, I want people to understand the danger of social media, not only if you're a member of law enforcement, but also if you're a general member of the public. And it has to do with Hope High School. Now, when I'm doing the live show like this, obviously in the Real News, I'm unable to, gauge that. But I do want to touch on, and it's a danger that people fall into, and I want to touch on it because I hate to use, it sounds cliche, a teachable moment, but I think this is a teachable moment. So, but folks, I want to stay on track here. This portion of our program, and it's brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, Propane Plus, 401 885-4209 or 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus, heating and cooling for all your propane needs. Call Propane Plus today. And they also have a very user-friendly website, residential or commercial. You can depend on Propane Plus. 401. You can log on, propaneplus.com, or call them 401-885-4209 for Propane Plus. So I want to just touch on this. Right now at Hope High School, they are conducting what they call a lockdown drill. And that is similar to a fire drill. So think of, I mean, I can remember whether you were in grammar school or high school, but the kids, enact a fire drill and they would ring the bell and we'd all march out and then you line up and then the teachers go and count everybody. And that is in case of a fire, even though the entire time that I've ever been was in school, there was never a fire in my school. There's never a fire in any of my siblings. I don't remember the last time. I would, that's actually a big, good question. When is the last time there was ever a fire? Let alone, we used to at St. Paul's School, and the entire school was brick. But anyhow, someone posted on Facebook today. I hate to, and I want to preface this, that how irresponsible it is, and how some people just take it and run with it. And I almost don't want to say the words because then when people hear that word, it takes off. But someone actually posted active shooter at Hope High School, and people believed it. And it come totally false. Totally false. Folks, I want to, maybe I can use this moment to just reach some of you. Whenever you see information or someone tells you information, I can tell you that my response, I deal with this every single day. Every single day I deal with it. My first question back is, how do you know that? How do you know that? How they answer, how you know that? How do you know that? Answers a lot. But this person posted, and I'm not going to get into, I had more than one person. No, it was a drill. Now, I don't understand someone. I mean, hold on. No, you know what? Actually, I do understand. I understand that I'm afraid to even check my inbox of people posting. That is such an irresponsible, dangerous thing to post. But you have to look at the source. Right? Oh, I don't know. I mean, come on. So, no, it was a drill. It was a drill for something like that. Now, again, if somebody wants to argue that that's traumatic for students and you shouldn't have to do it, I mean, I've seen video where back in the 50s that people in school used to have to do duck and cover drills. They were under the impression that if, a nuclear bomb went off and you were in school, you do duck and cover and you'd be able to shield yourself underneath your desk for whatever reason. But my point is, anyone that runs with that, if you see something like that, the first question should be, how do you know that? And I can't explain. People do that. What I deal with most of the time is it's an after the fact. It's when I say, how do you know that? They say, oh, someone mentioned it when I get into work this morning and it's later in the day. Or that's what or they say, oh, that's what I saw someone post, which doesn't mean it's accurate. I want you to know, when we're trying to determine a scene, we deal with firsthand, first person, the person that saw it. And many times, and some of you, this may sound familiar, but I want to show me what you're seeing. I mean, I do that. I literally do this every day. Show me what you're seeing. Large police scene, huge police scene. And what do they say to me? You got to get over here. All right. How do you know that? Oh, I'm looking at it. Show me what you see. And I see two cars. Now, for those of you that watch Road Patrol, and we will be rolling tonight, and everyone can watch, watch Road Patrol, when we do that, I mean, if there's any type of altercation interaction with police, they send 3 cars. So no, 2 cars is 3 cars is not, that's not a large police presence. So I'm not going to belabor the point, but some of you out there, and I have no idea if that made its way into the chat. No, it's a drill, and the individual that would post something like that. But here's the thing: you have to understand: there's people are just like, they don't understand the significance of something like that and just throw something like that, and it's highly dangerous to do. Now, again, I want to repeat right now, 1:30. We also don't know about the investigation, but for the Rhode Island State Police to take that type of action, that's the death penalty. So 2 young troopers, it's my understanding, they just got into the new class in June. So 2 young troopers in October somehow get to see the DOT video camera footage and then shared it on Snapchat, and they're laughing. There's nothing funny about that. And certainly sharing it. You know what that tells me, though, is these are 2 individuals who, and again, I kind of know, someone sent me the names of who it is. Right now, I don't feel the need to put it out there. But the point is, if that's what you're doing, I have no idea how someone takes something like that, puts it out on social media, shares it. That tells me that I don't know how they made it through the academy, but as one member of Rhode Island State Police said to me, that it shows that they really shouldn't be members of the Rhode Island State Police or any member of the force in that way. And listen, many times when we're out there on road patrol, and many of you see this, and sometimes people get angry. Oh, they're having a light moment, or oh, look how they're just chatting, and someone looks like they're laughing. Listen, they're human. There's ways of coping with things. I certainly don't condemn anything like that. Folks, there were people there were guys that be laughing during the war. So there were, I've interviewed people that came back, and, when I would say, what was it like in Iraq and Afghanistan? Some of them have said to me, it was absolute blast. It was so fun. And it's a way to relieve the tension. I know that sometimes we can look at them laughing and giggling over there. They're dealing with a homicide. They're maybe seeing a coworker or a colleague they haven't seen in a while. They're human. The same thing. Everybody's not doom and gloom at the emergency room or anything for that matter. I hear there's a lot of laughs at the medical examiner office. So, they have a job to do, and how they deal with that, I don't think they should be condemned. But let me just say that. But that is, like, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. So I don't know what's going to happen other than now they're both out. That sends, I'll tell you what this also does, is it certainly sends a message across all law enforcement that there's no tolerance for it. It is a 0 tolerance policy. So whether it's pick a police department, whether it's Rhode Island or Massachusetts. Now, I don't want to get into it. The Michael Proctor thing is different. Michael Proctor, the trooper in Massachusetts, he saw very incriminating things in the text message between Karen Reed and her attorney. Very incriminating things. Not things that could be used in court, but he couldn't unsee them. As a result of that, he developed an attitude towards that defendant. So that's a whole separate issue. That's not what this is. This is they were sharing it on Snapchat. So part of me says that is, that's good for the state police. You can't have that. You can't have that. Whether it's Snapchat or whether it's Instagram or whether it's TikTok or X, you can't have members of law enforcement when they have and they're looking at evidence Then number one, sharing it on social media. Number two, laughing about it on social media. Folks, this portion of the program, you want to talk about laughter or something happy. Let's talk about Kids Club. Kids Club on the Pike. Birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. It's right off of 295. It's right on the Cranston-Johnston line. Kids Club on the Pike. You can call them 401-443-5336. Hey, February vacation is coming up. Not everyone goes away. Maybe you want to find a place. They have programs for children before school, after school, vacations. Kids Club on the Pike. I've toured there. It's immaculate. It could be for 13-year-olds. It could be for 2-year-olds. It could be for 5-year-olds. Sometimes someone says, I'm going to have a bunch of 10-year-olds over to my house. And the kids are running up and down the stairs. The kids are running in and out of the house. They think that's not a good idea. Other times they say, all right, we'll do it at a restaurant. And then they're running all over the restaurant. Kids Club on the Bike, they can run around. So, and the whole place is geared for children. Kids Club on the Pike. And remember, also, before and after school programs and preschool programs, it's fantastic. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Folks, good afternoon. 1:36. By the way, this is good news that they're not going to ban TikTok. Again, I don't think President Trump is saying we got to hold off on this. And they're trying to work something out. I also saw, I believe the CEO of TikTok's actually going to be invited to the inauguration and is going to sit on the dais. So I believe President Trump, the ultimate deal maker, is looking for a way to save the platform. And they have to save the platform. I recognize if you're not on it, you don't get it. But we don't want it to go away. We do not want it to go away. It's the easiest app to use. It's a communication tool. I communicate a lot with people on TikTok. We reach people on TikTok that are not other places. They have to work that out. So I want to repeat. I mean, the big story is this situation with the state police. And I can tell you that I want to repeat what I've heard. No one can recall something like that. And the fact that these are two younger troopers that are not vested and haven't been there for a while, I think what they're discovering and doing is weeding them out. And it sure sounds as though they're discovering that these were two individuals who should not be on the force. So right now it's 1:37 on this Thursday. I think we're talking there. I'm hearing about a snowstorm coming up, Martin Luther King. So we're gonna have to play it by ear. We will be out tonight, obviously, and last night that and also, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I really don't care that much about the governor's budget, but last night, as I said, if you haven't seen it, the Rhode Island State Police have fired two troopers. Posted a video on social media of a 21-year-old getting hit and killed by the car in October. I mean, they closed the highway. So obviously, I remember that. And by the way, good job. Police caught the guy that body slammed that. There was a young guy in Johnston. And the moron that they caught, he was actually he was wearing the exact same jacket wearing the same jacket that he wore when he committed the alleged assault. But I can't stress enough, I recognize that what you saw last night, it's not going to get the type of play, but when that could have ended really badly. I mean, that really could have ended badly. When you have, and I don't care, I mean, I know that area. I know Washington Park. I grew up in Edgewood. I went to St. Paul School with kids from Washington Park. Last night we were in Indiana. One of my first play dates was with one of my classmates on Indiana. I knew kids on Alabama. I knew kids that grew up on California. I didn't know anyone on Michigan. But those state streets, as they call them, it is what it is. There's, that's where that big gang shootout was back in May of 21. And there's also a connection with in that area, you had some individuals that were connected to the raid that they had in Warwick. So, but when you have a car fleeing and individuals are firing at the car, that could have been 3 homicides last night, easily. Or maybe they hit someone. And then even more. So dangerous, as a matter of fact. So dangerous that happened. But I am telling you, it is gang related. And I'm not revealing everything, but I'm telling you. How about the Attleboro armed robbery suspect was arrested in Cumberland? So good job by the Cumberland police. There he is. This was 23-year-old Cranston man. I didn't know that. Facing charges out of Cumberland. Crash, police said, connected to an armed robbery in Attleboro. 6 masked suspects entered N&R Wholesale on Mann Street with firearms Tuesday afternoon, demanded cash from the owner. Short time later, police responded to a crash, Lusitania Avenue in Cumberland, a vehicle matching the description of the one used in the robbery. The driver, 23-year-old Chance McKinney, ran off after the crash but was arrested a short time later. So possession of stolen motor vehicle, stolen goods, possession of crack cocaine, obstructing an officer in the execution of duty, fugitive from justice. The time of the incident, he was out on bail for another charge out of Providence. He'll be presented as a bail violator. Cumberland police said they also flock camera system flagged 2 vehicles wanted by outside jurisdictions. Officers tried to stop one of the cars. The driver fled into Central Falls. Police are now working to determine if either vehicle is linked to the robbery, which could have been the switch car. So he is apparently from Cranston. But folks, what have I also been saying? And that is that crime is going to the suburbs. Crime is going to the suburbs. The fact that they rob a wholesaler, armed robbery in Attleboro, and then crash into Cumberland. Crime is expanding out. That's one of the reasons, by the way, I say, listen, you have to support law enforcement. But think of that. And I also want to point out Cumberland police, it was good policing. I did get a tip that they were looking around, I think the Portuguese Social Club, is it, in Cumberland? They were looking around there in some of the streets. They were looking for some of the suspects. It sure sounds like those switch cars. They were using a switch car, use one car for the robbery, have the switch car waiting, and then some of the suspects got away there. Folks, this portion of the program, I received an email from Lauren, and she's having a problem with her heating system. I'm not sure if it's residential or commercial. And I'm suggesting Lauren contact Modern Mechanical. Modern Mechanical, what do they do? Boiler installation, boiler repair and maintenance, furnace installation, furnace repair and maintenance, heater installation, heater repair and maintenance. Modern Mechanical. Lauren, call them 401-441-5442. So if you're listening or watching right now, if you're having, now it's going to be cold unfortunately for the foreseeable future, and don't suffer through that. You need your heating system working at full strength. Modern Mechanical. 401-441-5442. Again, boiler repair and maintenance, furnace installation, boiler installation, and heater installation. Modern Mechanical. They're right on Jefferson Boulevard. 401-441-5442. Well, folks, good afternoon. 1:43 on this Thursday. Yes, we'll be active. We're going to be active with Road Patrol tonight. Everybody can watch. I also want to comment the old canteen on Federal Hill. So I have mixed emotions about that. And the mixed emotions, obviously, like everybody else. I mean, I'm disappointed. Sal Mazzilli, I know Sal. Our dads were actually friendly. My father knew Joe Mazzilli of the old canteen, and Sal, also the son. I've had some fantastic meals in there. What a great staff they have. This is the final weekend. He wants to retire. It's a grind. The restaurant business, is it's a grind, and that's a valuable piece of real estate he has right there. The house, that's a big restaurant on Federal Hill, Old Canteen. For Sal, he's also a Hendricken grad, but I've toured around there. And in the past, I've said, oh my God, there's room, the Old Canteen. I mean, if he wanted to, I mean, there's room in the back. We could have had like a private dining area, could have had a reception area. I think people would have had a wedding reception at Old Canteen, or certainly some kind of a big birthday party. He's got a full upstairs. I mean, when I would tour the building, I would think, wow, you could be. He didn't want to do it. So it is disappointing. I think the individual who's purchasing I think it's time for the local media to stop being so enthralled by the individual out of the Newport Middletown area that's purchasing it, and start to really look at what's happening here, because it's just an unusual nature. And again, it's basically the end of the Old Canteen. It is. And I can recognize some, they may say, well, there's a lot of options for restaurants in that area. The Old Canteen has been one of my favorite restaurants for a very long time. And listen, it's nothing like you're sitting there. They call it the mayor's table. That's where late Mayor Cianci would sit and have a great meal. I mean, I do. It is sad. It's sad, when you see and hear people on the West Coast losing their home. So they're alive, but their home has been such a big part of their life. So it is sad, and it is kind of the changing Rhode Island. I don't know about Wally's Wieners. I have a feeling I will never know what it's like with Wally's Wieners. It's probably good news for some of the other Italian restaurants on the hill, Camille's. It's also good for a restaurant like Twin Oaks. The Oaks never changes. And then it does make you appreciate, folks. Traditional restaurants mean so much to people, whether it's Kay's or the Lodge in Lincoln or the Cowesett Inn. It does mean a lot. But how do you have Sal, and he's retiring, and this guy in Newport, this group, they say name your price. People throw out an outrageous number, and they say done. I mean, he bought Brick Alley. He's buying up a lot. I want to repeat. I believe, for the most part, the media continues to be enthralled of, oh, they run this car show. But if people will look under the hood a little bit, there's something. I believe there's something very unusual that's happening with how they're purchasing things. I think that's interesting that Stephanie mentioned the dual jury trial for the murder case, and that they're blaming each other. I think, that it is interesting about you had the two of them in the vehicle, and the way it was laid out, they definitely participated in it. But when you have two people involved, it was my understanding the one who was the boyfriend who got her pregnant was driving, while the other one, his goon henchman, I think they met each other inside the ACI. I think he was essentially ending her life. So, but that is interesting on whether or not you can't. Well, but I don't know. I mean, at the same token, she got in the vehicle with the two of them. They arrived in Brockton. Again, if you are unfamiliar with that story, we've had it from the beginning. That was the horrible story of the pregnant woman they found in Carbuncle Pond. By the way, folks, I saw the Boston Globe, to their credit, they did a story that pregnant women are the most vulnerable. Women are very vulnerable when they're pregnant. And it referenced Carbuncle Pond And then it also referenced West Greenwich. So I do have an update on the West Greenwich story, and we're going to post it at some point. But it all right. So this is interesting. I'm just seeing this right now. Bracing. Here we go. See, here we go. This is bracing for Trump. New proposal. This is the seeks to limit Providence police cooperation with ICE. Counselor Justin Rojas. This is a proposal now. With less than a week before the Trump administration. This was just posted this morning. The Providence City Council is considering putting more limits into law on how city police can cooperate with the feds. The proposal, which will be introduced by Justin Rojas tonight, would prevent police from helping federal authorities with civil immigration enforcement, including proactively providing ICE with a list of people in the custody or they will be released. The proposal would also bar immigration authorities from city buildings and schools without a warrant signed by a judge and prohibit police from sharing personal data such as fingerprints and state-issued IDs with ICE. The rules would not apply when federal authorities are acting in response to a specific act of terrorism, national security threat, or threat of imminent danger. But what does this mean? What it means is if somebody commits a homicide, they're still saying the Providence police won't be able to cooperate with ICE. This is ludicrous. It's not clear if the ordinance is any different from existing police practices in Providence, where Smiley has pledged not to allow police to act as immigration officers. Well, folks, as as I have said and stated, they're already acting as immigration authorities. They are. And those of you that watch Road Patrol, hey, Sunday night, we were on Cranston Street. What were the police trying to explain to the owners of that barbershop? They were trying to explain with the use of a translator. You have to close at 1 o'clock. And then if you've seen the video, 2 of them are filming me. What do? I start to say, how much for a haircut? How much for a haircut? What do they say? We don't speak English. Police, and I mean every night, and it's not just Providence. We had a situation in Cranston. They needed a Spanish-speaking officer brought in. You have situations in Woonsocket. You consistently have police situations in Pawtucket and Central Falls. And what happens? They say, we need a Spanish-speaking officer. No one in the home speaks English. So this business of, well, we don't want to turn them into immigration, you already have. They're constantly dealing with it. They're frequently dealing with it. They're dealing with it on a daily basis. And let's be honest, when our local law enforcement, but let's just stay with Providence because that's where the proposal would be. When they're dealing with individuals at a scene and they're asking for IDs, the real truth of the matter is they don't know who these individuals are. I can tell you one thing, they're certainly not going to show up for court. So they have an unfair advantage. And when I say advantage, I mean the police are at a disadvantage because they really don't know who they're dealing with. But don't believe this nonsense of, well, we don't want to have them acting as immigrants. You already have them in that situation. They deal with it every day and every night. Folks, this portion of our program, it's brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Now, they specialize in residential design. And you're going to discover the Arch difference. Family business prioritizes integrity, quality, custom builds and remodels. Family owned and operated, high end, custom build and customer service. Ed, meticulous, 5-star builder skill set. Roxanne, boom, goes the extra mile. Perfect compliment to Ed. Trust is built by doing what you said you were going to do. And that's what they do. The Arch difference. Arch Builders. Call them today. Let's set up a free conversation and consultation. Arch Design Builders. Call them 401-207-4124. Maybe right now on this Thursday, maybe you're thinking that you want to remodel your home, or maybe it's a new kitchen or a new bathroom, or you want to redesign your basement or your deck, or you have a special project in mind. Let's set up the free conversation. Let's have Arch Design Builders come to your home or business and let's talk about it. 401-207-4124, Arch Design Builders. Well, folks, good afternoon. 1:55 on this Thursday. Yes, we'll be active later. Yes, it's going to be cold. Let me I want to just check the weather forecast, which is not friendly for road patrol, but we'll fight through it. We'll fight through it. Let's see. Okay. Well, it's obviously chilly out, but it's dry. Today, dry. Friday, dry. Saturday, high of 44. That looks promising with some rain. Sunday, high of 41. Possible snow. Monday, possible snow. High is only 28. Wednesday, sunny, but the high is only 19. Thursday, dry. The high is only 28. Not even make it to the freezing mark. And then next Friday, Saturday, looks like it'll be rain. So, but the good news is we will be active with Road Patrol Live later tonight. And it's everybody can tune in. So let me just double check. Let's see. 2 Rhode Island state troopers have been fired. All right, that's the biggest kind of low. It is, and it's also the unusual nature of it that they are terminated. Now, also on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, yes, we'll be on, and it's a huge day, obviously, with the inauguration. And it's my understanding that the CEO of TikTok is going to be joining President Trump. TikTok CEO is planning to attend the celebration. So that's very, very encouraging, as a matter of fact. Very, very encouraging. As far as I'm concerned, that's very, very encouraging. All right. I mentioned, again, we have all video on the website, dpetro.com. Someone asked me, and it's someone that does this for a living, about Watson Materials. Largest selection, landscape materials in Rhode Island. It's Watson Materials. Call them, request a quote, 401-885-0600. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, whether it's landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials. Give them a call today, 401-885-0600. Sean and his team are so knowledgeable, and what a difference it's going to make outside of your home or business. Watson Materials, 401-885-0600. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. This is the real news. Now, you notice it's not your imagination. There's been an uptick in robberies. There has been. And with the economy the way it is, in the way the direction the state is going, I think there's going to be even more of this. The governor of the state, Governor McKee, is expected to announce his budget later today. And it sounds like there's going to start to be a lot of budget cuts because they have blown through all the federal money, and the state just isn't going to get the federal money. So the more that happens, I believe that you're going to start to see some people more of that, but we'll be on it. All right, it's 1:59. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. If you're watching us on Facebook or X or YouTube, yes, Road Patrol, at the minimum, we're doing it tonight. Who knows? Something happens. We'll be live later. So it's Thursday. Visit the website, depetro.com. And again, we will see you later tonight for the Thursday night edition of Road Patrol Live.